Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another live stream. This is sort of an impromptu live stream. I wasn't planning to go live today, but then I sat down to edit the video for the card that I'm actually going to be creating. Like I've already made it. I went to edit the video and I'm like, oh, just there were some little mistakes I made that were really bugging me. And I was like, I can do this better. I'm going to do it better a second time around. So here we are. In tonight's live stream, I'm going to take a card that I've already made with my premium members here on YouTube. They saw me make it last week. If you are a premium member, you can go back and watch that original live stream. I'm going to take that card and I'm going to make all the little tweaks that I talked about while I was making it the first time. And hopefully everything will come together a little bit better this time. That is the plan. I also want to give a big shout out to all of my students that were in the Celebrate class. Today was the last day of class. It's been a ton of fun all week long over at onlinecardclasses.com, as well as the class Facebook group. It's been so fun. I think more than like the class content, I've loved seeing how everyone is taking what we're teaching in the lessons and adapting it and like making it their own. It's my favorite part of the class entirely. So now this is the original card. I wanted to make the background darker down in here, and I tried to do that with a marker, and like I did some colored pencils, and like I did a bunch of stuff that I should have done before I removed the masking on the rose. So we're going to give this a second shot and try to make it better. So, but essentially it's going to look like this, but hopefully just that much better. The products we're using tonight, I'm using the Long Line Leaves background stamp, as well as the stencils that go with it. I'm also using this rose from the Long Line Roses and the stencil pack. And then I'm going to be using one of the dies from the Long Line Leaves dies. I'll just use that for my greeting. So those are the products I'm going to be using today. And because I've already made this card once, everything is already linked down below. So if I use anything and you're wondering what it is, it will be linked down below in the supplies. Okay, so we're going to start with, well, this is a teaching opportunity. I can teach you more about masking. When you're going to be masking something like this, you need to stamp the image that's going to be in front first. So we need to stamp this rose and stem before we stamp the background. And I'm going to be working directly on a card front. Okay, so I've got my little sticky grip mat in my MISTI. I don't know why I haven't been using it. I think I've had it for like a couple years. I saw Kathy have it in hers during her lesson today for the class. And I was like, oh, I should break that out. I should start using that more. Okay, so first we're going to stamp this kind of down here. Now the grading, I already have die cut. So I can actually like, okay, do I want to slide this over a little bit, give a little more space to that grading? Having things already figured out really does help. Okay, I think I'm going to slide it down so it's just a little bit lower. And that'll give me a little more space up at the top. Oh, it's right here. Versafine Clair Nocturne ink. I can always stamp it more than once. So I'm just going to like walk my fingertips over that. See, and I missed that area in the middle. Press that down. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now we need to have a mask. And through the magic of television, ta-da, I already have a mask. And I kind of arranged it on here so that I could pick them up off this little sticky thing and then put them over on my project here. Carrie's asking question. When you create the masking, did you just stamp and die cut masking magic? I actually just used masking paper from Altenew. Like you can kind of see a little bit on the back. Well, I guess you'd see on this more. Like Altenew always puts like their pattern on the back of their masking paper and on their adhesive sheets. But you can use any masking paper really. So essentially I am covering up everything that I want to be preserved. And I'm going to keep these masks on. Oh my word, I cannot get this to peel up. I'm going to keep these masks on until I have my background completely finished. How did I cut the masking paper? With scissors. I fussy cut it. That's why I did it before going live, because when I was making the card the first time around, I was live with my premium members and they just had to sit through me cutting all of these out. The masking paper is, it's not thick like cardstock. It's thicker than just like a regular like computer printer paper, but it's not, too thick. So I'm going to put the background stamp like right here, trying to make sure it comes up to the edges as much as possible. I will eventually put like the gold frame around the outside edge, so if it is not perfectly on the edges, that's fine. And I'm going to use that same black ink. Oh, Andrea has a really good tip. She's talking about when you're trimming out or cutting your mask, you might want to consider going a little bit. Got a cat hair right there. You guys see that? Right there. That looks like a Fred fur. When you're cutting out your mask, you might want to consider cutting just barely inside the line so that when you put it on your mask, you won't have any gapping. Now, I'm probably still going to have some gaps, but I'm not that concerned. I can fix that with the colored pencil. Okay. Using my Stampin' Bug just to really apply some good pressure. If I miss any spots, I can always restamp. That was actually really good. Oh, this spot right here. Okay. That looks pretty good. And I'm actually going to hit this with a heat tool just because this is a pigment ink. And like, I don't know if you can see, but there's even like, well, for one thing, I've got ink stain on my hands, but like some of the black lines are on my fingers just from the ink. I'm just going to hit with my heat tool. Just give it a little bit of heat. All right, that wasn't very much heat, but I hope it'll work. Okay, in the stencils, you have 3 that are meant for the background stamp. These are the 3 are meant for the individual leaves and the stamp set. So this one right here will do the entire design. It'll do everything. We're going to ignore that one because we're going to do the one that has, well, I guess we could do the one that has everything, but no, we'll do this one. It's a little bit easier to isolate the leaves. So let's see here. And because it's a big, huge background stamp, it can kind of morph and stretch a little bit. So I am fully anticipating that I will move my stencil around quite a bit to try to get things to line up just right. We are starting with Tidepool. Got 2 of them from Altenew. One's for a light teal and one's for a dark. So I'm just going to start at the base of each leaf and kind of blend up. This one's kind of coming in off the edge. I am going to bring in another color. I'm going to bring in a darker shade here in a minute. So I'll have the opportunity to really darken it up. All right, just get this bottom corner here. My stencil actually lined up pretty well, so I'm not really moving it. All right, before I lift my stencil, I'm going to go to a darker color. I'm going to Juniper, and I'm just going to bring in the Juniper right down at the base of each leaf, just so that we have a little more of a dynamic change in the color. So I'll lift this up. Not bad. Yeah, it's lining up here, but not down here. Not a problem. All right, I'm gonna go back to Tidepool. And I could have just used that stencil that had all of them, but I like that it makes it a little bit easier to isolate each leaf when you're doing it this way. Otherwise, I'd have to use even smaller brushes. I'll bring in my Juniper over here too. I'll just bring it down right here because it's lined up right now on this leaf. So I want to get it stenciled before I move on. So I'm just going to bring this down, let it kind of fade off to the bottom of the leaf. It could be really light down there. And then bring in that Juniper. Okay. Are there any other spots that I want to hit? I don't think so. Okay, so I'm going to clean this stencil, and then we're going to do a little bit of ink blending over the entire thing so that there's color everywhere. Really big blending brush and the Tidepool. And just, I did not mean to put down that much ink, but that's okay. I'm just bringing in that color over the entire thing because it's going to make it really dramatic to have that color everywhere. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit, I think I'm going to do Juniper actually, and I'm going to switch to a different blending brush, one that's a little bit more dense because I want to like really, okay, I have to talk about this. When I use the big blending brush like this, it's a lot of color over a really large area. When I use a blending brush that's like this one that's like more compact, more dense, I feel like I have more control over only bringing in a little bit. So like loading up the ink and then just bringing it in on the edges. Okay, so I've done a little bit of Juniper around the edges, and now Rainforest, even darker. And I'm mostly going to concentrate the Rainforest down in this bottom corner around where I've done my masking with the leaves. So yeah, I am kind of losing some of that really pretty like color shift, but I think it's going to be worth it because it's going to help the rows and leaves stand out just by having it a little bit darker right around them. Okay, so it's looking pretty dramatic down in that bottom corner. Don't you even worry a thing, we're going to make it even darker. Got black here, and I'm just going to do just right down here in this bottom corner. And also like up onto where the masks are. Okay, lovely. All right, while this dries, I'm going to be using 3 different colors of, for my rose. I've got watermelon, poppy, and cranberry. And the rose itself, the stencils it has, for the leaves, and also the actual rose itself, the stencils are labeled like with light, medium, or dark, or light or dark. So we're going to start with the rose. So let's remove the masks. And these are super, super inky, so I am not anticipating on saving them. Like I'm using tweezers to peel them up. Oh, so cool looking. Have a little bit of a white edge. I'm not concerned because I can always just ink blend a little bit right up to that edge, and it'll kind of disguise it. I guess you could also like give it more time to dry, and it would, probably not tear on you. Okay, so we have all of our masks off. Just put that back on my grip mat. Okay, so this is flower 2. So here we go. Where it says flower 2 light. Do you see that? Flower 2 light. So we just have to get that lined up. And I'm going to go in with my watermelon. Delia, yes, you missed it. I decided to redo this card because I wanted to make changes. Okay, before I get rid of this stencil, this has the flower 2 leaves light. So I'm going to go ahead and just do those at the same time. I'll switch to my green blending brushes. All right, before I move my stencil, I'm going to do some darker areas with parsley. Moving on to flower 2 medium and leaves dark. Perfect. So this one is going to be in poppy. And I'm really going to like concentrate the color at the bottom and let it fade up. And I can get my other leaves. I can tell my Sprout ink pad needs re-inking, which seems crazy because I never use it. Okay. These are some pretty tiny leaves. I'm almost considering grabbing a smaller brush. Okay, and I do remember from the first time I did this that I wish I would have had a little more shadow on the stem. So I'm actually going to take, I think, a little bit of Rainforest and just bring that in a little bit. Yeah, I just wanted, in fact, I could probably just add a little bit of Rainforest on these leaves too, now that I think about it. I like that. Okay. I like that. That kind of differentiates between the two sides of the leaves. Okay, going in with cranberry. And I'm going to really concentrate that cranberry at the bottom. Have it blend up to the top. Okay. So I'm going to do a little touch up on these areas like around the flower, just because my masking wasn't absolutely perfect. Okay, I believe this was the color that I was using before that was perfect. And I'll just kind of get rid of the really obvious white areas. The most obvious area is right around the rose. But you know, you just put in a little bit of this kind of green shade and it'll disguise it. Okay, not bad. Ta-da! So I just needed a little bit of that. Okay, so now let's look at the first card. Do you see how I just got it so much darker in the bottom corner? That is what I was missing. It's a lot cleaner because I did it with the ink blending. I tried to do it with like a marker and like trying shadow and like all sorts of stuff. This like really cleaned it up. You know what I'm saying? All right, so I have my little gold frame that I've cut out. And I also have my two little greetings. Okay. Just getting that lined up with the bottom edge and along those sides. So then this is what Kathy did. And I've done something similar in the past. Like I learned this from Debbie Hughes. She'll like put a bunch of little dots of glue on the back and then she like pounces it off on paper and comes back over, and that prevents all the like squidging of glue and things everywhere. But Kathy did something a little bit different. She put like a whole, so I'm trying to zoom out here. Here we go. She did like a whole little, like a little scribble of glue. And then she just like pounced her little die cut on it. It'll dry clear. And then brings it over to the project. And I was like, that's pretty smart. That's really fast. We'll see if it works with this particular glue. I mean, it will dry clear, so I'm not too worried about it showing up in different places. I can clean it up pretty easy. But I thought that was pretty slick. I'm going to add a little more glue because I think that got a little dry. And then kind of just run it through those areas. I don't know if I'm really getting enough glue on this. I guess we'll find out. And then this is being adhered kind of offset, so the black creates a shadow. That was so fast. All right, I'm going to put paperweight on that. I did kind of waste some glue and my black cardstock scrap, but it was fast. So here are the two cards. This is the one that I did tonight with a little bit better ink blending, you know, down here in the bottom corner. Kind of just, you know, I feel like this one was the rough draft and this one was the better card. But both are nice. Both are nice. I did want to point out that I used a different color gold. I used matte gold over here. That's the matte gold from Conqueror to Ninth or Simon's Stamp. It's like the same gold. Over here, this is the matte gold from Anna Griffin. So it's just a little bit of a different look. I want to say it's almost more matte. Like over here, there's a little bit of a shininess to it, but this one is like truly very matte. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I will be back next week on Monday, Memorial Day. If any of you are hanging around and wanted to stop by and see a little crafting, come and join me at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.